you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hello, Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the early season that makes official welcome to 16 years and 2,400 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. Today we have an amazing man on the show. We're going to be talking about his new debut novel, and I think you're going to be excited to hear about it. But in the meantime, we need you to go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss, one on the TikTok, and Chris Voss, Facebook.com. Make sure everyone subscribes to the show. They're on the iTunes and Apple and all that good stuff. Today, we have Ryan Pote on the show with us today. His newest book is out July 22nd, 2025. It is called Blood and Treasure, which I think describes my first 9 marriages. Anyway, so we're going to get into it with him, find out more about what's inside his new book. He is a 12-year veteran Navy pilot of helicopters who was part of a joint interagency special operations task force deployed throughout Central and South America. He was medically separated after sustaining injuries during an emergency landing. He currently works for the Department of Defense. Before his time in the Navy, he worked as a scuba diving instructor in Hawaii, as a microbiology lab tech, conducting algae biofuels research. He holds a master's degree in history from Ashland University, and he lives with his wife and children in New England. Welcome to the show, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, how are you, Chris? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for coming. We certainly appreciate it. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to get to know you better on the interwebs?
Sure. Everybody can find me at ryanpote.com. And then on all social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, X, and Goodreads, they can find me at Ryan Pote Books.
So give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside your new book?
So my new book, it's a crossover thriller. So the kind of elevator pitch is the destruction of the International Space Station and the discovery of an ancient scroll are inextricably intertwined in this thriller. So the high level 30,000 foot view is you are open the book in the prologue. You are thrust right into the middle of a problem in NASA at Johnson Space Center Mission Control. You are attached to a character. Nobody knows what's going on with their connection to the International Space Station. It's been lost. Something's wrong with the station. And they're trying to figure out what's wrong, and so are you. When they establish a video feed back with the station, they find out that that an astronaut has killed everybody, murdered everybody on board, and then this astronaut, Mozambique, blows up the space station. And they're left completely not knowing why or what's going on, and that kind of kicks off the big mystery of the story. And then cut chapter 1, you are off the coast of Mozambique with our protagonist, Ethan Cain, who is recovering something for a client off the coast underwater, an ancient object. And when you're at the tail end of this search and some bad people are after him for it. And as he recovers it, he witnesses a fiery mass come out of the sky and almost take out their entire boat and crew, and then plunges into the ocean. When he goes to investigate, it's the Soyuz space capsule, and it has sunk and is filling with water. And inside is one lone astronaut who's drowning. And he has to save her. He doesn't know who she is, but the reader knows who she is. She's the astronaut Mozambique who killed everybody on board the space station. And he rescues her, and the two become linked in an adventure that spans the globe, as the people who are after him for his artifact are also after her.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty interesting. Blood and Treasure. Probably significant, the title. Now, this is your debut novel. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the first book I got published, but not as many writers' journeys. It's not the first book I wrote. I wrote 5 books. I wrote 5 novels before this, and this was the 4th of 5 that finally, hit it. So,
well, congratulations for sticking.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
there's a lot we talk about with authors on the show, and some of their journeys and stuff of what they go through and writing. Are the 4 prior books published at all, or were they?
So, yeah, I wrote 2 with this series. It features a character called Ethan Cain, and I wrote two books with him in it before this that had some momentum and some, almost success with it. And they kind of failed to hit the mark. But the second one they're all kind of coming down the pipe. I wrote 2 other completely different, spin-off kind of books, an espionage thriller and a domestic crime thriller. And so I tried to, pivot a lot, as most writers try to, find what sticks. But yeah, now once you kind of make it through the door, especially with a publisher like Penguin, it kind of all starts to surface, because all that work you put in, they're all kind of the same standard, so the people start noticing and reading them. So that's kind of typical, I've seen.
Oh yeah. I mean, once you get that major publisher, the major publishers, they put a lot of advertising behind the book too. They can afford to sink some money into the advertising, and, they just give you that high profile and stuff. And for a book like this, that probably, I guess there's a future series of this using the protagonist.
Yes. So it was purchased as a series, a multi-book series, and the second one is already in and getting a cover for it now. It's completed and approved. It's got a publishing date of June 2nd. So you readers who pick this up and really enjoy it, it's already resonating with readers. It's got great reviews from other authors and the trades, and so I've been getting tons of emails, like, of people who really enjoyed it. They found the readership that they're looking out for a second one. So there is one coming. And it is coming June 2nd, 2026, and the series will continue.
Pump out those books. We've had like the folks who pump out the Jack Ryan novels and stuff like that on the show. And, and
my
some
friends.
of the other authors that are, you probably know everybody in that space. It's funny how a lot of them are ex-military, and so they can use their military knowledge. We've had other authors we've on the show who've used to be policemen or detectives that'll write novels. And so they just use their experience, and since they kind of know, the gun language of which gun does this, and and the military sort of aspects of theaters of war and conflict, they can write with an accuracy. I think that, like, I could never write about any of that stuff. I don't know how planes work. Right? so give us.
Helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Evidently, they have wings and propellers.
Somewhere you make it turn. I don't know.
I just dated myself when I said they had propellers, I think.
It's got a flux capacitor, whatever.
It's got a flux capacitor.
It's all about ball bearings.
So tell us about your journey through life, some of the things you did and accomplished, and then when did you start writing, if you could lead that up to when you started writing and when you kind of made the decision that you're like, I think I have a knack for this. I think I have some potential.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to talk. So, I never wanted to be a writer. It wasn't even something I aspired to. I never wrote fiction. It's a funny story, like, how life, pans out differently than you expect. I was always good at writing papers. Like, I read a lot of fiction and nonfiction growing up. Always had a book, read all Clive Cussler and this kind of adventurous books. But I was doing what I wanted to do. I went to Hawaii after high school, and I became a scuba instructor, and I was, living kind of an adventurous life. I had that bug, and then I joined the Navy and became a helicopter pilot in the Navy. I was attached to a task force, and we combated drug cartels. So I was all over Central South America, did 3 deployments, fighting transnational criminal organizations. We don't call them drug cartels anymore because they have diversified portfolios. So I worked with a lot of different government agencies and foreign partners to combat that mission. And then I got injured, and I battled for years to get back up on flight status and was unsuccessful. And eventually I got what they call med boarded out of the Navy, where you can no longer fly anymore for the FAA due to your injuries. And so I was kind of left without a purpose and a plan, and I had to leave the military after a 12-year career. And I ended up becoming an investigator for the Department of Defense, investigating like aircraft development contracts and stuff like that. But it wasn't really what I had envisioned for myself. I still had this toe in aviation, and and that's a really weird place for a former aviator to be, kind of half in, half out. I wanted to just be a career pilot, and it was taken away from me due to circumstance. So I was kind of struggling to figure out, my new mission and reinvent myself. And at the same time, when I'd stopped flying, of all the times I had, been 3 seconds from death, I had started to experience some pretty severe PTSD that was pretty crippling in my life.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't drive at night. I was having trouble understanding the lights at intersections, and it was, giving me panic attacks and thunderstorms and, smell of fire all the time. And it was really, really affecting my life, my marriage, to the point where, my wife was like, look, you got to go talk to somebody or this is it. And, it was pretty debilitating, coming from someone who was a pilot who could multitask, used to having a crew of 5, do 20 different things at one time. I couldn't do 2 things anymore. I'd have one thing going on, and then, something would happen, like the toilet would overflow or something like that, something stupid. And it would just make me feel like I was drowning. It would paralyze me. So I started talking to a trauma therapist about it. And, she recommended that I journal my experiences. So every morning before work, I would write in this journal about, all the times that, I almost, bought it or the different things that were giving me panic attacks. And it was really cathartic experience. She wanted me, that was phase 1, was writing about reliving it. Phase 2 was talking about it in a group setting. So I did that, but I didn't feel comfortable talking about the details that I'd written about drug cartels and missions and stuff, because it was still so fresh. And, those people are all throughout the United States, and it was so close to when I had stopped doing it. So she was like, just fictionalize the event, the person, you can almost be anonymous. I want to experience like what you experienced and share that. So I did that. So I was essentially writing little fiction stories, little short stories every morning. And it got to the point where it was so helpful that I didn't need therapy anymore. I didn't need anything. It turned my life around 180 degrees. And then at the same time, gave me this new mission, this new purpose. Like, wow, writing is really helping me. Like, I want to use it for something, not just journals. Yeah. So I was thinking I would write a history book because I had my master's in history. So I started doing that, but it wasn't the same as writing those fiction stories. So I got inspired to try writing a book. So I wrote two books in secret early in the morning before work, like 4 a.m. to 7 in the morning. And my wife didn't even know, and then I reached out to her and had her read it. And, I reached out to my brother, had him read it. Then I had my wife read it. Just, give me the honest truth. Do I have some kind of talent here? And because I knew what it was going to take to go for it. And she said, yeah, you do. So go for it. So my world got real small. I cut out, my friend group got real small. I cut out all my hobbies, and I just devoted myself to trying to do this for a living. And, I finally got published 5 books later after completely giving up. That was my plan until I gave up. Right. And, but now I'm here.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. We've had a lot of people on that we've talked about PTSD, the veterans and doctors and stuff. And do you find that the writing helps your PTSD because it helps you? Like, one thing I found, I had a lot of stories, and when I put them in my first book of my pseudo memoir, some of my stories, what's kind of been interesting is I've forgotten them. Like, I used to tell those stories all the fucking time, like just at parties, wherever I was. These were the stories I would usually tell. These are my favorite stories. And once I wrote them down in the book, I don't even remember them hardly anymore. And it's kind of like I have ADHD and OCD and probably DUMB. A
couple other Ds.
I think I have some DUMB. Sucked on some paint chips, lead paint chips when I was a kid.
We've all got a little of that.
Yeah. And we have those moments, right? And so what was funny was I'd lay awake at night wanting to, and with the ADHD brain just running its wheel going, oh, you got to do this tomorrow. You got to, don't forget that. And don't forget this. And then I found that writing stuff down made it so I could go to sleep, because what my brain was doing was trying to remind me of this shit, probably for, sometimes just to make sure I didn't fuck it up, or, danger. There's your ego brain kind of always kicks you with stuff that you did like 40 years ago you can't change, but it does that kind of as a safety thing. So did you find maybe, like, I basically, like, people ask me what my story is now, I'm like, read the book, I forgot what the fuck the story was. And so maybe that helps in that kind of sort of way where now that it's written down, the ego brain goes, okay, he's got it on paper somewhere. We don't have to keep reminding him and punishing him. Maybe.
Yeah, it was like a 3-part thing. In retrospect, at the time I didn't really understand why, but now that I've been writing for a while, and looking back on it, I think 2 parts. One, like you said, like because as a military pilot, you don't really talk about anything that's going to scare your family, your wife, and stuff like that, because you come home and then they gotta, I remember talking on the phone with my wife, and then it cut out and she didn't hear from me for 3 weeks in the middle of an operation. And, that the kind of anxiety that she told me she experienced for those 3 weeks was like, nobody would tell her anything and all that. So like, I knew that kind of stuff. So I always wanted to portray that what I was doing was like I was fine and play it down and I was safe and everything was good. And, meanwhile, I just landed on fire, so you don't. And when I come home, everyone's just so happy to see me. Nobody asks any questions. But I don't want to share because I don't want to freak them out because I got to go back 22 days from now, So you tend to not talk about it with you discuss it with other pilots to learn from your mistakes. But that's what you treat it as, a learning experience. You move forward, you put it behind you, and you don't really think about it again. And so you have to always be on for the crew, and you have that kind of. I always say that flying a military plane with a crew is very much like the Kevin Costner movie For Love of the Game, when he goes to pitch and he says, "Clear the mechanism." Like, you just got to forget about all your problems and just focus on what you're doing to get everybody home. So, it was part like talking about reliving it, like you said, like reliving the actual experiences, and you bubble up the emotions again, and you actually realize what's triggering the panic attacks and all these unknown emotions that you're having. And you can trace them all back. I'm not just angry all the time for no reason. All of a sudden, it's because of this, and so you start talking about it. And that was extraordinarily helpful to relive these experiences, realize what the source was, and actually talk about them. But then on the second part, I was a man without a mission. I had devoted my life to flying planes. I was used to studying every day. I was used to being in a highly competitive environment. And I didn't really have that anymore. And I was lost after the military. I didn't know how to apply the skills because my skills were gone. I couldn't fly anymore. So having a purpose, which was doing something hard, learning a new craft and trying to become a new professional at something. So it was like a two-part thing. It gave me that mission and that focus, but also gave me that release of all those core sources of my problems. So, and then I poured him onto the page, and that's where this character Ethan Cain comes from. He's a very unique thriller character. He's completely burn scarred from his neck down to his toes.
Oh wow!
And he deals with a lot of issues. He's kind of the character that I worked out my problems with, and he's a memorial to two of my friends as well. One who died burned to death in a crash, and another who survived, but he was horrifically burned, very similar to the character. And so he's kind of an amalgam of me and two people. He feels very real because he is really real.
Well, it's this. I wonder if this could be used for therapy for more veterans with PTSD. I know, one of the things that they come back with too is the missing the brotherhood, missing the camaraderie, missing. There's a lot of organization to the military too. So, like you say, when they come home, they're kind of lost, and the suicide rates of veterans are just unconscionable, and we need to do more to help them. But this would be a great way to help people with PTSD. There's an old saying: you when you keep these, with trauma, it's kind of the same way. And I think maybe in a way, war is trauma. But they say, one of the most important things you can do with trauma is to get it out, to talk to people and share your thing and flesh it out. And of course, realize you're not alone. There's other people that usually when you start talking about your issues, but it's great that you've honed it into a vehicle that, you can take advantage of your experiences, you can share it with people and everything else. So it looks like there's a real future to what you're building here and in the new books. Do you plan on maybe putting one out once a year at the pace you're going?
So, yeah, that's the plan with the publisher. Typically when a big publisher like this brings on a series, it's typically one a year. So, just like all those other series you see out there. Yep. So right now I'm kind of on pace for that. And I've got a lot of other projects in the works, and I'm the kind of person who once you break through the door, that's not the time to sit back and crack a beer and say I made it. Like, it's time to hit the gas and try to make it, because once you make it through the door, that doesn't mean anything. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe that I can't really talk about, but I'm doing a lot of different projects with this series and without the series. I got stuff in Hollywood, and I got an original audio drama that's a sci-fi thing coming up, and I partnered up with another Navy pilot, another author. We did a Choose Your Own Adventure book that we pitched to the Choose Your Own Adventure series for kids. Just doing all kinds of things, just to just to this is what I want to do. So yeah, I'm gonna do it.
You're going right for it, man. And I mean, we have so many amazing novelists like yourself on the show. They've been doing novels for, years or decades. And it's funny. Some of them, they just book every 4 to 6 months, I think.
Oh, wow.
And then sometimes, we're talking about their book that they have. This is real indicative of the Jack Ryan series and Jack Ryan Jr. series.
Yep.
And some of those other veins of military novels, and I mean, they're just on the show every 6 months. I'm just like,
that's wild.
Sometimes I'll be talking to them and be like, wait, it says there's another new book coming out in 4 months. Is that the one we're doing, or are they doing this one? And like, oh yeah, that's not even supposed to be up on the Amazon.
I bet it gets confusing. I bet.
Yeah, but and they have their own series, and then they have like Tom Clancy series, and then they're writing, it's craziness.
What I've tried to do with this book is do something a little different. Being a new author and breaking into this space, the book itself is different. It's a crossover thriller. There's supernatural. There's military thriller. There's espionage. There's drama. There's mystery. There's all kinds of elements to make it accessible to all kinds of readers. They market it as like a military thriller because that's my background, but it's really not. And you start to read the reviews, you'll see that about the book. But there's other things I tried to do to kind of make it different and kind of not just bring a new book to the publishing world, but bring a whole new mentality to the publishing world. So like, first off, when you get this book, there's an augmented reality cover. So if there's a QR code on my website, you can click it, scan it. There's a fully interactive augmented reality experience for the book that's interactive, that ties right into the kicks you right off before you even read it. And then inside the book, there are secrets and codes, and it's treasure hunts built into the book. And you can find them on my website, ryanpote.com. There are codes that unlock hidden passages on my website that are part of the treasure hunt, that unlock tie-in content that's absolutely free. There's, interactive story games. There's, tie-in chapters. There's all kinds of things that I've made for the readers to make it an interactive, fun, quick experience that if you really like this book, if you really enjoy what I'm doing and that's different, it'll carry you to the next book, and you won't be sitting around because there's nothing else for people to read for me right now if they really like it. So what I tried to do was bridge that gap from book 1 to book 2 with a lot of fun, engaging, totally free content that is very well done, professionally well done.
Well, lots of Easter eggs and stuff there, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
So I noticed on your website there was like a group they could join or something along those lines.
Yes, because there's so many discussion things about this book. It's very layered, and if you read some reviews, you'll see there's lots to discuss about it. A lot of people have mentioned they really enjoy buddy reading it with somebody because it's one of those books you want to kind of talk about because of what goes on. But because of all the codes and the extras and the discussion stuff, people have wanted to talk about it. So there's a Goodreads group that has been started on Goodreads on my page, and people will get early access to all the things that I'm releasing that tie into it, and also a spot where they can go to ask me questions or jump into discussion. I also zoom into people's book clubs. So if they're really interested in that, I'll zoom in and do a total, private, talk about all the spoilers and anything you guys want. So, I really love interacting with readers who really enjoy what I'm doing, and because I really enjoy what I'm doing. So, trying to just, break into the space and do it a little bit differently than other people have done.
There you go. Well, that should be fun. I love how you're doing all this interaction with your audience, because that's really, what will build and bind them to you. Like, I have a lot of novelists on the show, and they'll be like, yeah, sometimes our audience comes up to us at book signings and stuff and will tell us stuff about the character. Like J.A. Jance was on one time, and she's like, yeah, I wrote about this character for like 18 books or something. And then one of my readers came up and said, that guy's an alcoholic, right? And she's like, I never knew that. I never paid attention.
I didn't realize that.
I was an alcoholic. And so, it's interesting how, fans will take that. So I'm glad you have an interactive sort of thing for them. The people love the lore of these things. They go crazy for them, and the books are usually, they're not War and Peace. So they're usually a good read. And so people read them over and over, and then they'll dig into the meat of them and stuff. So yeah, it's a fun game. So Ryan, as we go out, give people your final did I say? Give people your final pitch out so that we can they can pick up the book wherever and find out more about you.coms, et cetera, et cetera.
You can pick up the book wherever books are sold. It's available in audio, hardcover, and ebook. The audio is done by William Demerit. He's absolutely fantastic, Shakespeare-trained Yale actor who does incredible voices and brings the book to life. If you want a signed copy that also comes with a bronze Roman coin from my personal collection of ancient coins, you can get that at longfellowbooks.com. So if you look up, just Google Longfellow Books in Portland, Maine, they have, I think they've got 11 copies left that come with a coin and they're signed as well. So you can check those out, and they'll probably have more on hand as well. I'm giving away my entire collection of Roman coins with this book.
Really?
So yes, I am. I've already given away hundreds. So I have a very large collection, and I'm not sentimental. So.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, thank you very much, Ryan, for coming on the show, and we'll look forward to hopefully having you on again as you release these wonderful
I appreciate it. Great talking with you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Order up his book wherever fine books are sold. It is entitled Blood and Treasure, out July 22nd, 2025. Excuse me. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss, one, the TikTokity, and all those crazy places of the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time. And that should have us out. Thanks for coming on the show, Ryan.